Hi, everyone. I'm Deb Flashenberg. Welcome to Yoga, Birth, Babies, a podcast produced by Prenatal Yoga Center. We will be diving into everything prenatal yoga, birth, and baby related, hoping to inspire, educate, and empower you through your journey into motherhood. Thank you for listening. Hi, I'm Deb Flashenberg. I'm your host of Yoga, Birth, Babies, and today we have a birth story. So if you don't know this, I absolutely love the birth stories from our community because it is a joy and an honor to watch the students move through pregnancy, hear their stories about their birth, and then come back postpartum. It is such a joy. And there are some students that come into the class often and I get to know, and they really mesh themselves into the community. And today we have one of those. So we have Ivana Đurović. I hope I pronounced that right. She just brings a smile to my face and really honestly to everybody's face that meets her. Let me tell you a little bit about Ivana. So she was born and raised in Serbia and came to New York for grad school, PhD in linguistics. She met a Dutch guy on a flight on her way to a conference. She got married with the pandemic, got pregnant before finishing her PhD, grad school, and teaching are on pause now. And this is something that I had just learned. Before she got pregnant, she was going to train to be a yoga instructor. So maybe that's why Ivana is so near and dear to my heart. So Ivana shares her birth story, and what I absolutely am just tickled by is her description of how magical it felt to her, literally her words. And I feel like in times that we're often hearing traumatic births, because there are many, many traumatic births, and that's a whole nother conversation about how to try to avoid that. It's just so exciting to hear a story that is literally described as magical, because I think that can inspire folks to want that and dream about that and do the best they can to have that. Now, that doesn't mean we all will, but I think when we can hear positive birth stories, it can be very healing against the ones that we hear that are very traumatic. And maybe if your birth was challenging, hearing Ivana's might help heal that. So I hope this story is inspiring and comforting and supporting all at once. Now, before we get to my conversation with Ivana, just a shout out that we are continuously bumping up our schedule. We've just added another in-person class in the studio on Saturdays. So I haven't added up how many classes that is in person, but we have a lot. So it's about 2 a day, which is exciting, except on Sundays. Sundays, we just do workshops and we have a live stream. So we do still have live streams 7 days a week, which I am so proud that we've continued that for folks that are all over the world that come practice with us and add to our community in person and online. So check out our schedule, check out our workshops. Many of them are on demand, so you can take it on your time, on your schedule. And then many of them are in studio. We recently started working with City Births, who provides our childbirth education classes, and Stephanie Heinzler. She has done many of our podcasts, as well as she does the lactation and VBAC on-demand classes. She is so brilliant and so knowledgeable. So we're just adding to our offerings. So check that out. And then if you're a yoga teacher and you get really excited about working with the perinatal community, head to our website, prenatalyogacenter.com, and look at our very intense, very thorough, very fun, very exciting, very evidence-based prenatal yoga teacher training. I think those that want to dive into this work, this will just add and enrich you. So I'm excited about that. And then the last thing I want to do is thank you. Thank you for being part of our community. And if you haven't yet left a rating or review to support the podcast, please do. It helps others find us. Okay, we're going to take a super quick break. When we come back, please enjoy my conversation with Ivana. Hi, Ivana. How are you?
Hi, Deb. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing so well. As I mentioned before we started recording, when I looked at my calendar and I saw it was my turn to talk to you today, I was so happy because one, I really enjoyed our time together during prenatal, and I'm also dying to hear your birth story. So good times ahead.
And I am dying to tell you.
Yay. All right. So let's back it up. And I want to hear a little bit about you. As I read your bio earlier, I was like, she is fascinating. So just share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm so fascinating. So I was born and raised in Serbia. I lived a little bit around the North and South America for a few years before I settled in New York, where I came to do my PhD in theoretical linguistics. But before I was able to graduate and finish my dissertation, I fell in love, got married, and got pregnant. Um, I met my husband on a plane on my way to a conference,
I love that.
and it was a couple months before the pandemic hit. So when the pandemic hit, I was like, we are going to quarantine together because I am not letting this slide. I'm not letting this one go away. So yeah, before the pandemic was over, we were married, and a year after that, I got pregnant.
Amazing. Oh, and I got to meet you that way because you came into class. So
Exactly.
let's jump into a little bit about jumping into your pregnancy and then your birth story. So what did you do to mentally and physically prepare for labor and birth? Because I know you took this very seriously.
I did. I took it seriously because for a few years before getting pregnant, I had doubts that I was even going to be able to get through a pregnancy because I had very bad lower back pain, and I had physical therapy. I was in and out of physical therapy for years, and I was really just worried. So I knew that I really had to be strong and keep active if I'm gonna get through this. I really thought I was going to fall apart.
Hmm.
So as soon as I found out I was pregnant, I Googled New York City prenatal yoga, and your website came up first. So, so I started yoga, but then I got, you probably remember from all the classes that I had very bad SI joint pain,
Yeah.
and that was giving me really a lot of concern. So I started physical therapy, and um, when I had decided that I was going to work with a doula, and when I had my first meeting with her, she was like, "So Ivana, how do you feel about giving birth?" I was like, "I have no idea. That's some future Ivana's problem. I cannot even imagine giving birth the way I feel right now. That is just like beyond of what I can conceive right now." So I I went to physical therapy, and I started doing these exercises more diligently than I have ever done anything. 5 days a week, abs and all the other exercises. I didn't know that you could get stronger even while you're pregnant. I didn't
Hmm.
know you can strengthen your abs even while your belly is growing. But that is really what saved me. And not only physically, it also gave me courage that I can actually get through this and that my body can do hard things, that I
Hmm.
can get ready for giving birth and that I can recover after that. So that really gave me a whole new enthusiasm to learn about birth, to not be scared about finding out what it all entails. And then I jumped into all the resources that were available to me, and basically PYC was the ground zero for that. That's where all of my learning started. And I took hypnobirthing class, and I borrowed all the books I could from PYC. And once my phone found out that I was pregnant, it was giving me all the appropriate ads. So everything was lining up.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, and then I was just so mentally ready just by becoming physically ready to do it.
It gave you the confidence that seeing
Yeah.
that your body was capable and strong. And I remember in class, I remember your back pain because there was a couple, maybe like a month or so that you couldn't come to class because you're back. But
Mhm.
when you came
Yeah.
back, like you were committed and really committed to the strengthening, which I appreciated because some folks, that takes work. It's a lot harder for some of our bodies, not everybody, to lean into the strengthening than the stretching, So I was really
See,
impressed with your commitment.
I have hypermobility, which sounds
Yeah.
awesome, but it's terrible. And I knew that strength was the only thing that I that is going to save me, and that's what it did. I remember all those chair poses in class and really stuff like that. That's what got me through this.
Amazing. Oh, I'm so glad that we were able to support you through that. So let's talk a little bit about, I know you wanted a doula. So when
Mhm.
you were interviewing and choosing a doula, was there something specific you were looking for in terms of support? Or was it more about just seeing and speaking to someone and seeing what kind of connection there was?
It was love at first sight.
Oh,
So I decided I wanted a doula because I first learned what a doula was because uh, way back when I first started yoga 8 years ago, turned out that my yoga teacher was a doula and she actually worked at PYC. Maybe you absolutely know her, Hess Kim.
I
Um,
didn't know Hess was your doula. Was Hess your doula?
well, Hess was not my doula.
Okay.
She was my first idea for a doula, and then I looked her up, and she was on her second maternity leave.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I guess not Hess. And then I was procrastinating, figuring things out when I took a class at PYC, not one of the yoga classes, but one of the like education classes. It was
Mhm.
the um, comfortable touch for birth,
Oh, yeah, with Yiska.
and I fell in love with Yiska,
Well, because she's fantastic. So
and
it makes sense.
I just knew that moment that I had to work with Yiska. So I was running a little bit late for like scheduling things, but thank universe, the client that she was talking to had to change plans for the month of March, and that slot was open, so she could take me on. So Yiska was my doula and is just in my life forever now.
Yeah, she's a
Um,
very special person. So for those that are
I'm
listening and they're like, who's this Yiska person? She teaches our comforting touch, and she is not only an amazing doula, but she's also a massage therapist and an acupuncturist. So she comes with a lot of amazing tools and just a well-rounded, generally wonderful person.
Oh yeah, really wonderful.
So how did Yiska help you prepare? I love that she asked you about how your thoughts on birth. What else did she do to help you prepare?
So we talked a lot about what I want and what I fear because her number one thing for me was to get rid of the fear that I've kind of grown about having just being within the medical system,
Mhm.
which does a lot of amazing things for the humanity, but it also operates in a profit based world. So it kind of sometimes does not put all of the patient's needs before anything else. So
Mhm.
I had a little bit of I guess anxiety. Even though I had chosen to, give birth at a hospital, it was at NYU Langone, the Tisch Hospital in First Ave, and we just had to work through that, just not thinking that there are enemies in the room, that doctors are not the bad people who are there to torture me or to deny my agency and humanity. That everything can work out and it can work the way I wanted to. We just had to tweak the process a little bit.
What did
And
that look like?
I will tell you. I will tell you every step of the way it went in the birth and in the delivery. Sorry, labor and delivery room.
So yeah, let's jump into it. Let's hear your birth story and see how you're able to find agency and support. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I decided to have an induced birth because, well, first of all, because doctors kind of softly push it on you. They like to control things and everything that I said about, profit-based systems. They like to have things on schedule. So I was kind of getting ready to be done with this pregnancy, and I also crucially wanted to be familiar with the doctors who will be attending on the day of birth. More specifically, I wanted to avoid certain other doctors that I got to meet through being a patient over there. So I really massively wanted to avoid certain people. So that was the reason. And I hadn't told anybody other than, of course, my husband and Yiska, that we were on a schedule, because I did not want calls. I didn't want texts on that day. I want to be, present in my own mind. I wanted to spend time with my husband, those last few days and hours of just being the two of us. And I didn't want any additional pressure. So we went in with an empty car seat and a couple of little bags. And it's a really weird feeling to walk into a hospital on a scheduled induction and there was another family leaving, and I was like, oh wow, this is a conveyor belt, but also kind of exciting. But also, I have no idea what this is going to be like. Let's do this. I'm just a little nervous. So we came in on a Sunday night, had to wait a little bit. Everything took a few hours to get a room ready for us. And then when they finally put us in, I took a little nap, and that was those were the last minutes of sleep that I was going to get until the baby comes almost 30 hours later. So the medical team started coming in, paperwork, explaining things, how everything is going to go. I got to talk to them about my birth wishes. And one thing I wanted to note is for everybody out there who is pregnant and wants to talk about to their medical team about their birth wishes, if people change shifts while you're there, you need to talk to every single shift separately, because that information does not get passed around. So I, or at least it did not in my case. So they put me on a bed, and they started with the prostaglandin pill, and that actually got me dilated enough to skip the Foley bulb, and I was very happy about that. And then the doctor came to check actually how much, and she did a little sweep, and that gave me contractions. And I was like, oh my God, maybe I not only get to skip the Foley bulb, maybe I even get to skip Pitocin, because this is happening. Like, this is getting really painful, and they're getting closer together. Maybe I'm just lucky. Maybe I get to subvert the most of the process. So I had a wonderful nurse, shout out to Renuka, who said, all right, I am going to delay the start of the Pitocin. Let's see how far we can get you on this. So she, handed me the birth ball, and I did all my yoga exercises to try to move things along. And they had me on a clear liquid diet, and the nurse was like, you can have a small meal. You can eat lightly. So I had my snacks. And so it was really wonderful to have such a supportive nurse. And then things actually were not progressing as I had hoped. So I had Yiska come in. It was already around 5 o'clock, so we had already been at the hospital since 10 o'clock the previous night. 5 o'clock in the afternoon, she comes in, and she brings in a whole new energy into the room. It was like an explosion of energy. My strength was already kind of dwindling, and I was losing that excitement and passion. And I was like, what is this ever going to happen? This is not moving along. It's evening. virtually. It was 5, but it was dark outside. So Yiska came in with a whole new energy. She was like, all right, let's get the birth ball. Let's get the wireless monitor on this girl. Let's get you moving. Let's get the breast pump to do everything to get these contractions, massage, everything, to get things moving. But unfortunately, that also did not work. And a couple hours goes by, and I'm now getting actually worried that I'm going to get very, very tired before I ever get dilated enough, and that I'm not going to have enough strength to push.
Mm-hmm.
And doctors are coming in. They're like, all right, it's time to break your water. And I'm like, no. Why not? Well, I know that once you break my water, that increases the chance of infection. It puts a clock on things. And then if I don't give birth by a certain time, then you're going to send me to C-section. And they're like, okay, fair enough. Can't argue with that. And I really wanted to avoid C-section. I really wanted to avoid it. And that's when I had a lot of fear. How am I going to do this? And this guy's like, listen, you really don't need to have your water broken if you don't want to. You just need contractions. And for that, we have Pitocin. You can just go that way. And I was like, all right, let's set a deadline. If by 11 o'clock nothing happens, nothing gets moving, we're going to do the epidural, do the Pitocin, and I'm going to dilate through the night, and then in the morning, I'm going to be ready to push. How does that sound? She's like, yep, that sounds good. I don't know if that's how it's going to be, but that sounds good. So that's kind of how it went, sort of. They still wanted to try to break my water. I was still pushing against that, and finally they did not do it. And then the team came to give me epidural. It was just a little pinch. It was not scary at all, as I had expected. And then around midnight, my water broke. And I was like, oh my God, it's happening. This is it. I don't know if it was the epidural or the Pitocin or my own hormones, but this whole cocktail of chemicals and hormones just gave me this wonderful buzz. I was like, Yiska, I feel in love. Like, I felt like I was in middle school and I was crushing on, like, having my first crush at, I don't know, 12 years old. And I was just so excited. And I'm lying in a dark room. I am like, nothing special is happening. There's no, nothing amazing around me. It's all inside of me. Just not euphoria, but more of like a soft simmer, but very strong. And I was like, what is this? She's like, oh yeah, this is hormones. This means that things are working. And then I started shaking. And I knew about shaking, but I didn't know how strong it was going to be. It was a lot. And then Yiska was like, I have a trick for you. What's the trick? You stick your tongue out. When you stick your tongue out, the shaking stops. I had no idea.
I didn't know that.
Really?
Oh my gosh. I love learning new things. Okay, did it work?
Crazy. Yes. It doesn't last for a long time. So you have to go back and forth. So that was weird, but thank God it was a dark room.
Do you have any pictures? As soon as you said that, what did I do? I just stick my tongue out. Like, I wonder how many listeners are like, stick your tongue out, and everyone sticks their tongue out. I did it, but it worked?
Absolutely. It doesn't stop. It doesn't end it forever. It just stops for a few seconds, and like it gives you a break. And then you can do it as many times as you want.
I gotta ask Yiska about why. Why does that work? Did she explain why it works?
Oh, I don't think she knows. I mean, maybe she does, but I did not ask for, or maybe I did. I don't remember. a lot of things I said or heard during that.
You had some good hormones going. All right. You know something? We're going to take a super quick break. When we come back, let's pick up from sticking your tongue out. All right. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So we've established that sticking your tongue out can stop the shaking. And
yes,
that
very
it was
scientific.
working for
Yes.
you. I know. So, okay, after you got through that, I'm guessing, that could be the shaking could be transition. It could be an effect of the epidural. Let's keep going. So what happened next?
Yeah. So it lasted for a few hours, and I knew that I needed to get some rest. So between the, shaking and sticking my tongue out, I put in my headphones and I was like, all right, I'm going to do my hypnobirthing meditations and like affirmations just to stop my mind from racing and just relax a little bit, even if I can't sleep. And Yiska got some very restful sleep on the floor of NYU. It was just glorious. Yeah, so finally the morning came, sun came out, and everything is easier in the morning. It was a beautiful sunny day, and the the medical team starts coming in, and the midwife from NYU comes in, and she's like, all right, let's check you. And I got so used to saying no to things, like don't check me without absolutely being necessary, or like don't break my water. I said no, 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 that I had to like look at Yiska and be like, is this okay? She nods. It's like, yeah, let's see what we did this from the shaking and sticking the tongue out. And the midwife sticks her hand in, and I don't feel anything. And she's feeling things around. She's like, I don't think I feel any cervix. And I get worried. What does that mean? That can't be good, right? My cervix is supposed to be 10 centimeters dilated. Surely this can't mean anything good. And I look at Yiska, and she is bawling. She's like, oh my God, the baby's ready to come out. That means that you're fully dilated. And that was the most glorious moment in my life. I don't remember anything so beautiful and wonderful and exciting as that moment. And then the preparation starts. The whole medical team, the nurses, the assistants, and everybody, students, everybody's coming in, setting the stage ready. The little tables with instruments, and there was oil involved. I have no idea that was involved. The baby station thing is coming in, and I get so worried because I'm starting to feel my contractions, and I'm worried that my epidural is wearing off. And I'm like, listen, I know that I had taken hypnobirthing class and I kind of considered going like unmedicated vaginal, but that's not where my mind is at right now. I have not slept in 2 days. I am not mentally prepared in this moment to do this all natural. I need my meds. But like I'm already fully dilated. This is it. There's no time to do this, to like up my epidural or whatever. But they do give you that little button that you can push and give yourself an extra dose every 20, 30 minutes. So this guy's like, dude, just press the heck out of that button. And I was like, okay, let's just do this. And I do. Okay, so some more time goes by, and the doctor finally comes in, and she's like, all right, girl, you're ready to let's do this. And I'm like, no, but I don't really feel the urge to push yet. She's like, listen, you've been dilated for hours now. And apparently there are some, wise guys at the hospital who keep the time, and you can't be dilated for more than, I don't know, some number of hours before they actually send you under the knife. So I'm like, okay, I see. I understand what that means. If I don't push this baby out now, I'm ending up under the knife. And again, it's fine if you want to do that, but I really wanted to avoid that. So I'm like, okay, I don't feel the urge to push. What am I going to do? I don't have a lot of options. I'm going to bluff. I had
How?
the I had the
I'm
wireless
curious.
monitor. I had the
Okay.
wireless monitor on me, and the wireless monitor is great for moving around, but it doesn't give timely information on the monitor on the screen, because it gives you like 20 to 30-second delay about your contractions. So you can't really keep track of your contractions on the screen with a wireless monitor. Also, the nurse was pressing my belly. I was pressing my belly to see if my stomach is stiffening due to a contraction. We can't really tell. I have a little bit of upholstery over the abs, so you can't really tell. So I just got to bluff. I have to fake this. So that's what I do. I decided to fake feeling my contractions and just push, push like I've never pushed before. It took me a few minutes to figure out how to do it, how to do it with breathing, how to flex abs, how to, get that whole train going. But once I did, it was the best thing in the world. It was like Michael, my husband, the student, a nurse, the doctor, maybe someone else, the doctor's or physician's assistant, I don't know who else. There's a whole team down there cheering for me. I am high on these hormones. And I don't know if I told you, I was a theater kid in middle school and high school. And this was better than any performance, any best premiere in the world. I was like, I'm so prepared. I am in command. I'm confident. This is happening. They're all cheering for me. This is happening. And in the middle of that, like pushing and bearing down, I tell the doctor, or tell the whole team really, like, oh, you guys know 3 months ago, I had a dream that I was giving birth and that I could put my hand down and I could feel her head. And the doctor was like, give me your hand. And she puts my hand on her head. And I just melted. And it was much softer than I expected. It was almost squishy. It was very delicate and slimy. And then couple, I don't know, minutes later, maybe another push later or something, the doctor's like, so I was like lying on my side, holding my knees next to my ears, very strong, but not very dignified. And doctor's like, put your hands between your legs. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm holding my legs. Like, this is where I need them. No, no, no. Put your hands between your legs. And I push, and she hands her to me, like straight into my hands. So yeah, that was, I mean, it all sounds just so corny and cheesy, but it really is the most magical feeling in the entire universe. And then I bring her up to my chest for a little snuggle, and she's all slimy and gross and lovely and screaming. And I don't know, I guess Michael cut the umbilical cord, but I did not even see that. It was just so amazing.
Oh, that was beautiful. You had me like I was envisioning the whole thing. And what a supportive team. I love that they let you push on your side. They let you basically catch your own child.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah. It was really, really wonderful.
So then she's, I'm guessing, on your chest as then the placenta gets delivered.
Hmm. Yes, that happened. And here's another thing. So I didn't know that you have options when you're choosing where to give birth in the United States. So we went with the hospital, and um, I don't think I would have gone anywhere else, even if I had known in time, because I knew that my body is delicate, and I did not believe that I could do this whole thing by myself without, emergency team being there ready, because and that turned out to be really good thing, or like good judgment, because after delivering I had a lot of bleeding, and they had to stitch up a lot of stuff in there. I tore a little bit, but it was more that some blood vessel down there burst, and like they were stitching me up for like 40 minutes past after the baby came out. So yes, I was there, the placenta came out, everything was fine, but there was a lot of blood, and the doctor and a student were there patching things up, and I was just snuggling with my baby, and they kept saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, just a little bit more." I did not feel anything. I didn't care. I was not, like, that was the bottom part of the table. I was not interested in anything that's happening down there. You do what you have to do. But I was very glad in hindsight that I was there so that they can actually do what they had to, because yeah, apparently, something happened.
Can I remark that when you said you're delicate, I've only known you through your pregnancy and some of
Mhm.
postpartum, but what I saw was actually a very strong person. You had
Oh,
some obstacles of your lower back, which I knew were causing you a lot of problems, but you were so, I don't know if brave is definitely a word, but resourceful and confident and
oh,
strong about
thank
how,
you.
and so smart about how you moved your body to make sure that you stayed healthy. And throughout your whole birth, you also had that confidence, even in moments where you're like, I don't know. I don't look at you and say delicate. I really see strong. So I'm not going to argue with what you maybe perceive yourself or feel, but I think you're a very strong, capable person.
Thank you so much. And I mean, okay, I think both can be true.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I think maybe because of that, uh, delicateness, I had to strengthen other parts,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
and
And you
and
did.
yeah, and it turns out I did. And honestly, in this pregnancy, more than any other area aspect of my life before. And in the end, when I talked to Yiska after, for the first postpartum visit, she asked me, "So, what's your overall experience?" I was like, "I loved it. This was great, despite the fact that I had to push back against some of the things that the medical team wanted." And she's like, "You know what? Maybe because you pushed back, maybe because you took charge of what's going to happen to you, because you were informed, you knew what you wanted, and you knew that that's the best for you and your baby,
Mm.
because you pushed back, because you didn't get, trampled over in the machinery of birth business."
Yeah.
Those were not exact her words. I'm
Right.
paraphrasing for the dramatic effect.
So, what kind of support did you think that your doula and husband played during your birth that made a difference in how you managed your labor?
I think so I heard this before, that um, if your partner is present for the birth, then, like, why would you need a doula? That sometimes can make the partner even feel a little superfluous. But a doula is a medical professional, and your partner is your partner, or like a medical professional. She's a professional in the business of birth, even if it's not medical. And she's there to support you and the partner. To me, Yiska was what I needed the most. She was energy. She was warmth. She was everything that I didn't learn, because it's impossible to learn everything about birth in a few months. She was there to, when a doctor or someone else comes in and says, this is what we're going to do, I look at her and then she like nods, or she's like, excuse me, give me a minute, or give us a minute. She was there to, along my husband, run interference when, doctors come in and say, this is what's going to happen. They're going to be like, hey, wait a minute, let's have a think. But also to give me the comfort that everything that I told her that I wanted is also what is happening.
Mm.
I was overprepared for this birth, in my opinion. I felt like I was a full-time pregnant lady. I spent a lot of time, as in classes, but then also outside of class, just learning about physiology. And I heard Marissa in, I don't know, one of the June's podcasts say that hypnobirthing is the best physiological class on giving birth, and it absolutely is. I learned all of that, but that still might not be enough. And Yiska was there to help me, to guide me, to make sure that I feel that I'm getting the kind of birth that I painted for her when we first talked about it.
Mm. That's beautiful. So I want to talk a little bit about community, because you really showed up as being part of the community. I mean, you showed up for yourself. You showed up to support everyone. You were always, so enthusiastic and really caring about others. How did community play a role in your pregnancy and in motherhood?
Thank you. It was irreplaceable. I say to everybody that PYC was my pregnancy headquarters. Basically, every aspect of my pregnancy is somehow attached to PYC. I can track it one way or another. Even just going to yoga classes at PYC enough, by osmosis, you will learn enough about birth. If you just listen to the teacher, or if you're like me and then want to stay after class and pick the brains and experiences of second-time moms, everybody's always more than welcome to, more than willing to, share their birth stories from the first time around. And it was actually there that I heard a few stories of women who gave birth and then, but during labor were just, it lasted way too long and they were too tired to push, so they ended up in C-section. I was like, okay, this is a thing. I didn't know that you needed strength.
Yeah.
Good to know. Mental note. So I just like listening to that, and also all the wonderful experiences at PYC, and then basically all of the resources. But at PYC, I also met women who are now my bestest mom friends in the world. And shout out to Deepa Puri and Limor. I really could not imagine motherhood without them. So it can be very lonely being pregnant, because a lot of the things are happening in your body and in your mind, and unless your belly is showing, nobody knows that. Or you're walking around the streets and your barista doesn't know you're pregnant, and maybe you want to shout from the top of your lungs that there's something really exciting and also really scary happening in your life, and you can't. But when you have a community, and that's what I had at PYC, then you have a cohort that is going through very similar things. And it just makes you not feel, makes you just, in all that fear, in all that anxiety that exists, it makes you feel not alone. It makes you feel like everything that you're feeling is okay. And it gives you support, because you hear wonderful things, you hear not so wonderful things. And then you see everybody there in class pushing through it together, through those fake contractions against the wall. What do you call them? Mock contractions.
Mock
Yes.
contractions, yeah. Oh, I'm visualizing the people that you spoke about. And so for listeners, I do want to paint a picture of something. So I've been doing this for 21 years, and there are pockets of people that come together. And there was a very special pocket of people. You mentioned Limura, Deepa, Marissa was there, and it's Lucy, and it's beautiful to see connections that get made. And a few weeks ago, right at the start of school, I got a text from one of my students, Rachel. She was with us for both her pregnancies. I actually have a picture of her from the studio's Sweet 16 party. And she sent me a picture saying it was like 10 or 11 parents. And she's like, all these babies are in kindergarten and we're still in touch.
Oh
And
my God.
and I'm actually still friends with some of the moms I met at the new mom support group that I went to with my son, who's 12. And it's special to see these friendships form.
Mm-hmm.
And these little pockets of friendships that continue to threads through each other's lives. And it was really special to watch the bonds you all formed, which is one reason that we do circle time in the beginning. We don't just, start class, because I know how it can be. I've seen this. I've experienced it. Being, like you said, being pregnant can be lonely. A lot of people in New York are there as transplants, and we need
Mm-hmm.
to go through this together. It's
Mm-hmm.
so hard to do it on, and we're not meant to do it on our own.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
while that was always in my brain, I so appreciate you sharing your experience about how community helped you. And I love all the people you mentioned. So please tell them all I said hi and that they made it into the podcast.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We're now just talking about how our babies are falling off of furniture. You know, it's it all
It
comes in
happens.
stages. And
Yeah.
it's wonderful to have these stages to share with somebody who is going through
Oh.
the same thing as you.
All right, we're going to take another break. When we come back, I'm going to kind of combine two questions I was going to have prepared for you.
Mhm.
Lessons from early parenthood, as well as one final tip or piece of advice you'd like to offer new and expectant parents. It can be tied together or separated, however you want, however you want to take that kind of
All
paragraph of
right.
question. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. So I guess you can answer this in two ways. One, a lesson that you learned from early parenthood, or you can skip that and just go into one final tip or piece of advice you'd like to offer new and expectant parents.
Well, yeah, let's see. I don't know how I'm going to answer it, but let me tell you about one of the first lessons of my of early lessons of parenthood. I had a difficult journey with breastfeeding, and I really wanted to breastfeed. And I did everything I possibly could, including 3 different lactation consultants and 7 visits and
Mm,
frenectomy and those painful stretches in the middle of the night, stretches of the tongue. And yeah, was, it had better days, it had worse days. Um, there were many obstacles on the road. And I had taken that for granted. I had taken breastfeeding for granted when I was pregnant. I was like, this is certainly happening to me. We're doing this. Why would anybody even be worried about it? What do you need lactation consultants for? You just do it. And, as overprepared for birth as I was not so well prepared for breastfeeding. And it just was very hard. So my first lesson, and probably the biggest one if you can extrapolate it, is that your child's life is going to go in ways that you sometimes don't want it to go. And that doesn't mean that it can't be wonderful, because once I had a little talk to myself about, is it the end of the world that this breastfeeding thing is going very poorly? Well, it turns out it's not. And we can have a wonderful, happy, healthy child, and it doesn't make me any less good of a mom, um, even without it. So there are some things that you're not going to be able to control, no matter how hard you try, and that's fine. That's fine. That's life, and you can still have a wonderful relationship, very close relationship, and your baby is going to be great. Like Clarice.
That's a lot about surrender.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And one tip is, I think I heard this on a TED Talk many, many years ago. Over prepare, then go with the flow. As I said, I over prepared. You can or don't have to, however you want to, but it's really important to go with the flow and take things as they come. Many things you cannot control. The things that you want to control, then do your best, but still, epidurals are going to happen or not. The C-sections are going to happen or not. And that's all good. But none of that should determine the relationship that you have with your baby, because that's ultimately why you're doing this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that is beautiful. Ivana, I have so enjoyed reconnecting with you and being a part of your story, just listening to it. I felt like it unfolded in my mind and I could see it. And I'm just honored and thankful that you opened up to share it, because I think it's so important for people to hear the love that you had for your experience. So many times we hear negative birth stories and there is a lot of fear around birth because a lot of it's unknown. And I just so appreciate you showing and sharing that deep love and that whole experience. So thank you.
Thank you, Deb. It's really been wonderful being a part of PYC community. And I can't wait to go back to postnatal classes that I promise I will.
I'll be there. Thank you.
This has been an episode of Yoga Birth Babies, produced by Prenatal Yoga Center. You can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope. I'm Deb Flaschenberg. Thanks for listening.